Hey, are we on? Yes, we are. Hello, good evening to all you
Hi,
folks out there.
people. We're late.
Yeah, not super late. What time is it?
It's quarter after 11, man.
14. 11:14.
Yeah, I'm normally in bed by this time.
I know. Sorry, guys. I had to go give a friend of mine my iPad who's traveling to the US because getting stuff done here in Brazil that deals with electronics, well, not all electronics, but definitely Apple products is just not worth it because it's expensive and the workmanship is not that great.
Yeah.
So he happens to know some folks who know some folks and blah 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 blah. He can do it real cheap and just get my screen fixed. So that took me longer than I thought because he had to get his COVID test to make sure he can travel back and forth, and that was taking forever. He is not contaminated, so he's all good. But I'm back. Although I'll tell you what, Pete, it's depressing. They don't sell beer after 8 o'clock. That's like part of the COVID regulations, which is like I'm pretty
Where?
laid back when it comes to these regulations, but I think that one was like, what the fuck,
Where don't
People
they
need
sell beer at 8 o'clock?
anywhere. I was at Metro Butantan, and we were inside the padaria, which last week only opened till 8, but this week they are allowed to open till 10. So I ordered a piece of pizza, slice of pizza. It was like, oh, let's get a beer. And then the guy was like, just to let you know, we can't sell beer after 8 p.m. I was like, what? And
There's,
yeah, so that's the
wow,
new
dude.
safety protocol.
I was at a bar until like 2 o'clock in the morning on Saturday. So obviously, this is pretty selective.
Well, yeah, I don't know how it works. I guess you can buy it from the supermarket. Maybe if the bar was closed and people didn't know that you were buying. I don't know how it works. I know that the bar across the street also wasn't selling anything. And there's a little van near the metro that's is just sells beer. It's like a little beer emporium van, and they were closed down. So no beer for you after 8.
Oh, wow.
Yes.
Yeah. Okay. It hasn't been a problem for me so far.
I know. We'll see what happens. But anyway, y'all, first, thank you for listening. We've got a new subscriber. We've been getting new subscribers dripping in at least two or three each week. And then today, when I went on the channel, I saw that we got a new subscriber. So thank you for being on the page. What is the new subscribers? Oops, what is his name? It's T something, some weird name. I apologize, but it was a strange name. Uh, New subscriber Tofis12345. I don't know who that is, but welcome Tofis. And catch us every Thursday talking about the X Files when we are on time. Actually, start at 10 p.m. sharp Brazil time, which should be 8 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. That's New York time for those that don't know what Eastern Standard Time is. And perhaps Pete and I will be taking a journey into something new with this podcast very soon. Although it may not be next week because if Godzilla's out next week, we're going to be talking a lot of Godzilla.
Yeah.
But if not, we kind of want to expand the podcast to talk about our life in general because we mention a lot that we're here in Brazil and we got some crazy stories to tell. And we also are going to talk about movies because we that's something that we definitely do here in Brazil. And music and shows. Pete goes to a lot of shows, and so we're gonna try to make it like a little bit of a culture Well, how do you say smorgasbord of entertainment?
Smorgasbord.
Yeah,
Smorgasbord.
with a bit of an expat flavor. So we'll expand it into that and see how it goes. See how viewership responds to it. If it totally fails, hey, we'll be back to our usual talking about movies because that's fun as hell. It's just finding time to watch the movies sometimes is not that much fun,
Yeah.
but but we do it. So tonight, Pete's going to talk about The Great White Hope. That was a first-time watch for you, right?
It was the first time watch, yes, all the way back to 1970, I believe this was.
And trivia, although Pete don't say anything, trivia, because those of you that know me personally know I don't celebrate birthdays or anything, but I just happen to see that this movie was released on my birthday. If you happen to find out when that is, good for you, but Pete don't say anything. And then you'll know, because it's like, I keep it like the most top secret thing ever, because I just don't celebrate. Uh, and but I just happened to notice that when I went on the wiki page. And then first time watch for me too, Mars Attack. I don't know. I saw it on I think the
Wow.
Letterbox page.
I saw that
It was
in
just
the
this
theater.
one I skipped. You know, I've seen so many Tim Burton movies, and for whatever reason, I skipped this one. And
This is
you
a
know when you
light.
skip a movie and you just never go back to it because you're like, I kind of, like its moment has passed. You know,
Mm-hmm.
it's almost like imagine you're with this real hot girl or dude, whatever you prefer, and it's like that was the night you know you're gonna fuck, but then it didn't happen, and then it's like you
And
can't
after
go
that,
back
yeah.
and
Been there,
recreate
been
that
there.
moment. Yeah, and it's like you can try everything. Like, man, but you were really gonna fuck me. It's like, yeah. You know, you weren't even drunk or anything. Yeah. But so sometimes I'm like that with movies. It's like if I happen to miss it and it just, a year passes, 2 years passes, two turns into five, turns into 10. So this is one of them. And I'm a real big fan of Tim Burton. So I was like, I
Yeah.
should watch this one. It's pretty divided opinion on this
Yeah.
one.
I saw this in the cinema, man. It was a riot.
All right, well, we'll talk about it. I didn't think it was that much of a riot, but we will talk about it. And then at the end of it all, we're just going to talk some action movies, guys. So we may start to do this every once in a while, just pick a genre and just kind of riff off of it, give you our favorite movies of a specific genre or subgenre. And I've been thinking of even pulling out the genre wheel, and you'll see what that is when I pull it out. And don't worry, it is PG rated.
Yeah.
Anything that I'm pulling out is
Don't
PG
pull
rated.
it out. Don't pull it out.
Yes. But Pete, you got any quick picks for this week or no?
You know, I was actually going to talk about the Tom Hanks movie, News of the World, which I saw like 2 weeks ago. Because this week I actually only watched one movie, which is the one that I will be talking about tonight. And I was like, gotta get News in the World in there somewhere. So I'll just say that I saw it and it's really good. It has the Tom Hanks seal of approval. The great thing about Tom Hanks is not his acting, but not remarkable. The great thing about Tom Hanks is that he always picks good movies. Like he's never in anything bad. And
Mine
this
is
was
the
like
Da
that.
Vinci Code.
Yeah, and that's strange too because it was actually a really good book, and the movie followed the book. It was just flat. But yeah, News of the World is a pretty good old school western. It's Tom Hanks being Tom Hanks. He's protecting this little girl. I believe she's German, and her parents have been killed. And he's trying to take her to see some relatives. And the movie is basically like an Old West version of Frogger. If you've ever played that game where the frog has to cross like one side of the road to the other, and there's snakes and there's cars trying to kill them, it's basically like that. They're trying to get from point A to point B. Along the way, they face many dangers. It gives you a bit of an obvious ending. It basically gives you the ending you want, but it's more about the journey. Like it has a nice look to it. It's enjoyable to watch. It's not special. It's not remarkable. If you can see it on the big screen, because not a lot of shit is being released in cinemas now, I would definitely suggest that. I did not see it on the big screen myself, but I imagine it would look amazing on the big screen.
I agree with you with Tom Hanks. I haven't seen this movie. Is this the one where he kills a bunch of pedophiles? that you're talking
Yes.
about? Okay,
Yes.
yeah. Yeah, well, that's always a plus. And Tom Hanks is always a plus. And I agree with you. He's in his zone, you know? It's like he doesn't do much outside of just play Tom Hanks. But that's enough because Tom Hanks is fucking likable as hell. Like, he's just fucking
Yeah.
Tom Hanks, you know? Although I might have brought this up on the podcast before, I do miss old school Tom Hanks, like wild, crazy, loony, you know, Money Pit, um, like Joe and the Volcano, Dragnet, Tom Hanks. Like that shit was, I mean, he was hilarious. And then he got serious after he won his Oscar for Philadelphia. And then
Yeah.
he did Forrest Gump right after, got another Oscar. And then it's just been the serious Tom Hanks after that. And just like either it's Tom Hanks being very serious or Tom Hanks just being Tom Hanks, which is fine. Again, like the guy is fucking awesome. But I miss, you know, there's no crying in baseball, Tom Hanks, you know.
Right. Right.
So it would be cool if he did a movie like that again at some point and kind of stretch his muscle because he does have, he has the chops. I mean, I think he could, you know, he could be side to side with any of the greats, any of the great actors. He
Yeah, he's
definitely
like a
has the chops
modern
for
day
it.
Cary Grant, basically. That's who he reminds me of.
Yeah, that's a good comparison. Uh, and I did like that video you asked me to see with him. Was it on Family Ties where he beats the crap out of Michael J. Fox?
Yeah, yeah.
He's like the drunk
He
uncle.
smacks him for throwing out his newspaper clipping.
Yes, that was a good scene. That was dramatic. Tom Hanks giving Michael J. Fox a big old smack. So if you've never seen that, that's a quick pick right there. That's a 1 minute long quick pick if you go on YouTube.
There's actually another really good because he had two episodes in Family Ties, but I think his two best scenes were in that one episode, and the one is where he goes to a job interview drunk, and it's not immediately obvious that he's drunk, but it becomes apparent over the course of the interview, which is only about like 2 minutes long, but. Yeah, no, that was a good early Tom Hanks moment.
Yeah, there's a bunch of good ones. I was a huge fan growing up. But my quick pick, and I guess Pete can talk a little bit about this too, is well, I can't say I recommend this. More of a warning quick pick, which was The Stand, which was a real
Yeah.
letdown. We didn't even talk about it on the podcast because we tend to talk about stuff that we're kind of more pumped about,
No, you
unless
did.
it's something
You did.
new. Did we?
Yeah, yeah. It was like one of your main picks,
Oh
and you were all
well,
like,
I'm
you
going
were
back
like
to it.
all over the. You were all over the first episode. You were like, yeah, this is
Yeah,
promising.
it was. It did seem promising until it didn't.
Yeah, yeah.
Until it just
Actually,
meandered.
I thought it
Go
got
ahead.
better. For me, the first half was the weak part. The second half was a bit stronger, but by then it was a bit too late.
Yes, for me it just meandered too much. Like I was reading an article as I was coming home from I think Screen Rant where they're talking about where it missed the mark. It made
Yeah,
basically trying to do too much with something simple, like trying to reinvent the wheel. It's like no, like the wheel is working just fine. It's a basic story about good and evil with some interesting characters put in to make the story seem like something fresh and new. But it's the same old
yeah.
story since the beginning of time. Good versus evil, and whose side are you going to be on? And that's what gives it its epic scope. But they spent so much time on these characters we didn't really care that much about. I mean, we cared about them because they're supposedly interesting. If you've well, Pete's read the book, but if you've watched the 1990 or 80, I think it's 1990 miniseries, you care about these characters, and it's just I didn't care about them, and it was like backstory after backstory after backstory, and it just meandered and meandered, and I never felt this threat from Flag like I did
He
with the
was
earlier
good though.
miniseries.
He was good though. I
He
actually,
was. It was a great actor,
yeah,
and Whoopi
in
did
the
all right
beginning,
as Abigail.
yeah, in the beginning, I really felt like fuck Jamie Sheridan, like just nailed the shit out of that character way better than this guy did. But actually, like, as he got more screen time, it's like, oh yeah, he's in the zone.
And what do you think of Whoopi as Abigail?
Well, she had so little screen time, she didn't matter. She was
Mm-hmm.
insignificant.
I felt that too. Like they pumped her up like in the trailers and everything, and even in the original miniseries, I think it was played by the oh my
Dee,
God, what's her name?
uh,
Famous actor. Her and her husband are always acting together. 1 second, I gotta find her name because she's a legendary actress. Ruby Dee, yes, Ruby Dee, and she played it in the original. And Ozzie Davis is her husband,
yeah,
famous acting duo. They're always in movies together, a bunch of Spike Lee movies, as a matter of fact. But anyway, yeah, she was in there, but again, she wasn't like. I think she only appears in like what, like her big scenes are like almost in the second episode of a 4 episode miniseries. So she plays a pivotal part, but it's not. It's more about the people around her, and she's just like this Grandma Moses figure.
yeah.
But I figured because they pumped Whoopi up so much, she would do a little bit more. But I don't know. I give it like, you know, 2.5 out of 5 stars. Maybe it could be a 3. So it's more of a warning, quick pick. If you've read the book, which Pete has, I think you might not like it. If you've seen the 1990 miniseries, you might not dig it as much,
I think
and they
it's
kind of missed the mark.
94, actually.
Yeah, it's around 94. You know what's 90 is it. I think that
Right,
came out
right.
in 1990.
Yeah. Which is also better than the movie.
I agree. Well, except for the second part, but both movies sucked in the second part, the adult part. Uh, but that's just a hard section of the book to film. I mean, because what King does so well with the book, which I finally read last year, is that he intermixes, he interweaves, the adult to the children, the adult to the children. So you never get bored with
Yeah.
one. But there's not much
It
happening with
works
the adult
better
part.
as that type of story. Like
It
going from part
should.
1 to part 2, it just didn't work. I never saw part 2 of it. I saw the
Oh.
first one and I was like, not interested in seeing more of this.
Well, if you didn't like part one, which I enjoyed it enough. For me, it wasn't scary, or it was more like a popcorn thriller with a lot of jump scares. Lost a lot of the atmospheric horror that the first one, the original had. But if you didn't like the first one, you're gonna hate the second one, because the second one, oh my God, it was 2.5 hours long of nothing happening. It was just
Yeah.
boring as hell. Uh, and it's just not that interesting to see the adult characters because there's no suspense. They're gonna beat it again, and they're adults. And the what makes the book interesting is them retelling what happened. They're just basically sitting around the table and just talking about, oh, this is what happened, and you get the flashback in the chapters. And okay, then they gotta go and get some token from the past. That takes like 5 minutes. And then it's like there's not much happening. Anyway, so that's my quick pick is The Stand. And we are gonna move on though, because I've never seen this movie myself. I know you're a big boxing fan. I enjoy it thoroughly too. I enjoy some boxing. I share a lot of boxing stuff on my page. But I've never seen this movie. Big old James Earl Jones got his godly stature
Buff.
on.
Yeah. Yeah,
My
and
goodness.
it's weird that you found this clip because like there's virtually no boxing in this movie. For a movie about a boxer, there's very limited amount of boxing. We do get these like moments of anticipation leading up to the important fights in his career, but actually we don't see the fights. The only fight we actually see is the one where he loses the heavyweight title to Jess Willard, which was not even remotely representative of the fight. I think in the movie he loses in the 13th round, but one of his great accomplishments is that he was a participant in the longest heavyweight title fight of all time. He actually got knocked out in the 26th round.
In the what, 26?
Yes.
God damn. What, they didn't have like round limits back then?
They did, but they were just really long. I think actually the longest world title fight under Marquis de Queensberry rules was Joe Gans and Battling Nelson, which went to the 43rd round.
Good Lord, that's like old school tennis where they didn't have they didn't go to 6 sets. They would sometimes have these Wimbledon matches that would end like 36, 30, I guess it'd be 36, 34 or something like that. That's insane.
Yeah, no, the old school boxing was hardcore, man.
Good Lord, but what's this story about? I have no clue. I've never seen this movie.
All right,
it's called The Great White Hope, but it's got a bunch of black dudes in the cover.
Yeah, it is. It is the story of Jack Johnson, although they changed his name for this movie for reasons I don't know. But he was the first black heavyweight boxing champion. And it does happen to be Black History Month, so this is my Black History Month recommendation. Although the real reason I watched it is because James Earl Jones just turned 90. And when I saw that, I was like, the guy's only ever received like one Academy Award nomination. And I've never seen that movie. And it's weird because I'm a huge boxing fan and a fan of boxing history. And it was a movie about boxing history. So why the fuck haven't I seen this? So I made a point of watching it. For folks who don't know, back in the early 20th century, black people could fight for world championships, but the heavyweight championship was off limits because at that time, like the heavyweight boxing champion of the world was considered like the man, and they could not have a black man being the man. And there were a lot of really good black fighters at the time, most of whom were just content to be making a payday. But Jack Johnson wasn't one of those people. He's like, motherfucker, I'm going to be the man. And this movie follows him. When the movie starts, he's already the champ. But there was a really important moment in boxing history where he fought not his predecessor, because obviously he beat his predecessor, but at the turn of the 20th century, the heavyweight champion of the world was Jim Jeffries, and he retired. And a Canadian guy named Tommy Burns, who was like 5'7", 176 pounds, won the vacant heavyweight title, defended it 11 times, 3 times against the same guy. And Johnson's like, this guy is a fucking pretender. And he called him on it. He won the title. And then, of course, white America was so outraged, they brought Jeffries out from retirement to, teach this uppity black fellow a lesson. And they don't even show the fight. Like I said, they don't show much boxing in this movie because it was a massacre, apparently. I've only read journalistic accounts. But apparently Johnson just took this guy apart, massacred him. And he was very flamboyant. He was not trying to be a hero for black people. He was just trying to make a living. He was married to a white woman, which in 1915 apparently did not go over really well. And his wife was
he married to one, or was he just flirting with a white woman? I think he was.
No, he was married. No, he was married to a white woman.
Oh.
Yeah, but it was like a secret marriage. And
Okay, yeah, because it can't be open because it was against the law back then to marry a
yeah,
white woman.
yeah, no, they were married in Mexico, I think, actually.
Okay.
Yeah, but she's played by Jane Alexander. She's really good. But the thing with Johnson is that he was such a focal point of Black Pride, and for him, he's like, motherfuckers, that has nothing to do with me. There's a great scene before the Jeffries fight where he encounters these young black teenagers, and they're like, "We really hope you whip that guy." And he's like, "Why? Why do you hope I whip him?" And they're like, "Well, if you beat that white man, that shows like I'll be proud to be colored." And he just looks at them with contempt. He's like, "Motherfucker, if you're not proud already, then like there's nothing I can do for you." And he just like walks away from them. And in fact, in terms of his business practice, he denied all the other top black fighters of the time the opportunities that he had. There were a lot of great black fighters that deserved a shot at the heavyweight title, but he knew he would make more money fighting white people than he would by fighting black people. He knew like the money paying public didn't want to see two black fighters fight. They wanted to see a white fighter try and beat the black guy, and he wanted to be the bad guy and crush their hopes. And that was where his bread was buttered. So I can understand that from a business perspective, but he didn't really pay it back. He didn't give others the opportunity that he got.
I see a quote here by James Earl Jones, who later did a documentary. He was the narrator for a documentary on Jack
Unforgivable Blackness.
Johnson. Yes.
Great movie.
And he said that, oh, I just had it. Oh, yeah. To know the story of Jack Johnson is to know that it is a study in hubris. So what you just said there kind of makes sense now because I couldn't make sense of this quote before. But yeah, that's interesting. It's another time, yeah. You kind
Yeah,
of, if you got a piece of the pie, you did not want to share it. If you sometimes, you just
yeah. The
make
bulk
sure
of the
to hold
movie
on to it.
actually, yeah, the bulk of the movie actually deals with his legal troubles because after he had beaten like the best white fighters that they could put in front of them, they nailed him on the Mann Act. He took his wife across state lines, and I think this must be bullshit because, as far as I know, the Mann Act was about transporting minors across state lines, and his wife was not a minor. But they nailed him anyway, and this is actually a matter of true fact. And he had to basically leave the country.
Good lord. So you got screwed.
Yeah, yeah, they couldn't beat him with fighters, so they got him on bullshit, and he still managed to beat them because he left the country.
Where
But
did he leave to?
Europe, he was all over the place, and then eventually Cuba
Oh boy.
and Mexico. But yeah, I mean, the main reason I would recommend this movie is just for James Earl, man. Like the guy is such an icon, but you'd be hard pressed to find people who can identify him with anything other than Darth Vader or CNN or The Lion King. And this is a
CNN.
movie. Yeah,
They do the
this
voice
is
for
CNN.
CNN. Oh,
Yeah,
that's
this
him.
is CNN. Yes.
Good lord.
Yeah. But this is a
Oh,
movie he deserves to be associated with as a great actor. Like he's incredible. Jane Alexander is too. It's a really nice looking movie too. Like that shot you got up there. That's like a gorgeous piece of cinematography. So it's good looking, great acting, important story, a bit fictionalized, but definitely worth watching for your Black History Month.
well, I'll give you two more James Earl Jones movies. Field of Dreams which I love. I don't know if you like Field of Dreams. And that's when I first found out about James Earl Jones, was through Field of Dreams when I was a little kid. And uh, Coming to America. And
I've
Coming
never
to
seen
America
that.
too.
I know people are really excited about the sequel. I never saw the original.
It look, and if our see, Craig always sneaks into our fucking podcast. I wasn't even gonna mention this motherfucker today. We love you, Craig, by the way. But I know if he happens to be listening, he's gonna be upset because I saw Coming to America for the first time all the way through because I've seen it like again one of those movies that you just end up seeing bits and parts of throughout your life. So I said, let me watch it beginning to end, and it was okay. I actually liked Wesley Snipes, Arsenio Hall much
Arsenio,
more.
yeah,
Yeah, I think he was way funnier than Eddie Murphy, except for when Eddie Murphy was in makeup, like the barber shop scene is famous. The was that the sexual chocolate, whatever it's called, scene is great. Like he's great when he's playing these characters, but the actual when he's just him, not that impressive. Yeah, it was okay. And you know what's funny though, because then I went to look at other reviews, and you know who wasn't a big fan of it either was Roger Ebert. So I'm in good company, and he wasn't a fan of it for more or less the same reasons as I was. Like, okay, the story is kind of basic, nothing amazing, and Eddie Murphy just is really toned down, which I guess is what he's trying to do to play like a different
yeah,
role.
yeah. Because he was
Kind of,
known for being really foul mouthed.
yeah. I think that the whole point of this is that he's like the prince is supposed to be kind of innocent, and I think he wanted. This was the movie where he wanted to show that hey, I can do other types of acting, like I can do dramatic if I have to. Like every comedic actor, I think, goes to that phase where they want to show that hey, I can do more than just make people laugh. But I don't know. For whatever reason, I thought it was good, but it wasn't like, wow, oh my god, movie.
Okay,
But I do still want to see part two because there are some funny bits in that shit. That's
I
definitely
can
funny.
give a shout out to another movie I remember seeing James Earl Jones in that was really it was like one of those movies that just could not get made now. And I don't know if you've ever heard of this. It was a 1987 movie called Soul Man, starring C. Thomas Howell and Ray Don Chong and James Earl Jones. And it was about a white man who pretends to be black to get a scholarship. Like it is just like the most appallingly distasteful movie.
Oh
But
my
the
god.
thing
Oh, and
was,
he's in blackface the whole time. Oh.
yes, yes, yes. But the thing is, it is very self-aware of its distastefulness.
Hmm.
Um, that was kind of the thing I liked about it. Like it in no way condones this sort of thing, but it was humorous in a really inappropriate way, but in a way in which the humor acknowledged like, hey, we know this is awful. Like this is, and it does actually have a message where at the end, James Earl Jones is the dean of the university, I think, and he just strips him down. He's like, you motherfucker. Like, what do you think you're doing?
And what was James Earl Jones' film debut? Do you know?
Dr. Slove?
Yeah, as Lieutenant Lothar Zog. So he's been
Yeah.
in a bunch of movies. He was in The Exorcist 2. And then, of course, all the Star Wars movies. City Limits? No, Soul Man 86. Trying to think of any of these that I've seen. Coming to America, of course, Field of Dreams in 89. Hunt for Red October.
Yes, yes, he was good in that. He
And
totally
Patriot
had the
Games.
he totally had the baritone voice going in that one too.
And then, I don't know many of these other movies. Summersby, I didn't care much for. He was in a Sandlot, which I do like, but I don't remember him in
I
that. I'd
think he
probably
was the
say
narrator.
Sandlot? Nah, because here they say when he's the narrator. Um, Judge Dredd. There he was a narrator, the 95 version. But Primary Colors, that was an okay movie.
Yeah.
And let me see, Quantum Quest, Scary Movie 4. Yeah, Driving Miss Daisy, 2014. What? Okay. But anyway, and then Coming to America 2021 as Jeff Joffer. So he'll be back as the father of Eddie Murphy, Eddie Murphy's dad. Anyway, let's move ahead now. And my movie that I saw, first time watches, is Mars Attack. I'm a big Tim Burton fan. In fact, I was talking to our friend Justin today because they made a list of, we were all making our list of our top 10 directors. And I didn't include Tim Burton. And then a friend of mine put Tim Burton on her list. I was like, oh shit, I should have put him on there because I do really love early Tim Burton
Yeah.
a lot.
Yeah, exactly. Early Tim Burton.
Yes. And then Justin said, Tim Burton hasn't made a good movie in decades. I was like, yeah, you're right, but I'm not going to erase his whole cinema career because he kind of lost his mojo a little bit. And, anything up to, I think he said Willy Wonka is like the splitting point. I guess I could go there.
I like The Corpse Bride, actually. The Corpse Bride is a good film.
Was that before or after?
That was after. That was 2005, I think.
Okay, yeah, I like that movie too, a lot. So but then for whatever reason, I just skipped this movie, which came out in, I think I forgot to put the date for when this movie came out. Let me see, Mars Attack, 1996. So that's weird because I saw Sleepy Hollow in the theaters in 99. I saw Planet of the Apes 2001 in the theaters. So it's weird that I didn't watch Mars Attack. It came out after Ed Wood in 94. Look at these movies, man. Pee-wee's Big Adventure, classic. Beetlejuice, classic. Batman, classic. Edward Scissorhands, classic. Batman Returns, I like even more than the original, classic for me. Ed Wood, absolute classic.
My favorite of his.
And then, yeah, mine too. And then we got Mars Attack, and then Sleepy Hollow, which is a classic, but a pretty damn good movie.
It's an excellent
I don't
film.
mind Planet of the Apes. I know it gets a lot of hate, but I love like the whole set design and costumes and everything. So I dig it. I know people don't like it, and I'm a big fan of Planet of the Apes. That's my favorite movie of all time, actually, the original. So if I can find a way to love it, but then it started going kind of weird. Big Fish, I never sat through.
Yeah, Big Fish it's okay, but it definitely doesn't have the Burton vibes.
And then 2005, see, they both came out the same year. It was Charlie and the Chocolate Factory, which is
Right.
weird.
Yeah, 2 movies in the same year. Yeah.
Yeah, and Corpse's Bride, which I really love, but I don't mind Charlie. It's so fucked up that I can dig it. I'm not a big fan of the original, so, I actually kind of like this one a little better. Sweeney Todd, I can never sit through. It's a musical, although
not that good.
Not my thing. Alice in Wonderland, I watched here in Brazil. It was trippy, but I didn't dig it too much. Dark Shadows, do you know what that is?
Yes, it's based on a 60s soap opera, actually. It was
but the vampires.
Yes.
Oh, shit.
Yeah, it was pretty much a solid like 5.5 out of 10. It was a good adaptation, but this is where Tim Burton started to fall into this role of, we have a really weird ass script, so we're going to hire a weird ass director to do it. It's kind of like a career trap that he's fallen into.
I know. Frankenweenie, I love. At least the short.
It's adorable.
I've never seen the full length feature, but I love the short that he did. And then Big Eyes, I don't know what that is. That's 2014. It's an American biographical comedy drama. The film is about the life of American artist Margaret Keane, famous for painting something or other. Miss Peregrine's Home for Peculiar Children. Never saw it.
No, no. I remember it, but
2016.
I didn't.
And then 2019 was his last movie, which was Dumbo. So he only made a few movies in the last decade or so. So I'll give him a little bit of love. But anyway, Mars Attacks. I didn't like it at all.
Really?
It took me like three tries to watch it. Like I paused it after like 20 minutes, then I went to do some shit, and I think I started it up again the next day and watched another. I know, actually, I fell asleep. So then I was falling asleep. So I was like, okay, I'll start it again the next day. I watched another 40, 50 minutes. And then I paused right at the part where that fembot shows up and bites off Martin Short's finger. And then I watched the rest of it today because my friend who I thought I was going to meet around 8 was still stuck at the airport. So I was like, okay, I got time to finish this movie. And oh my God, I don't get it. Maybe you can explain to me why this movie is good because I get that he's trying to do like a spoof of like those 1950s space attackers type movies. It's got a great cast. It's got Jack Nicholson playing multiple roles. Got Glenn
Yeah,
Close. It's got like a real star-studded cast. Jack,
it's an
Jack
amazing
Black,
cast.
Pierce Brosnan,
Natalie
the chick
Portman,
from
teenager, is in there,
Natalie
isn't she?
Portman, a very young Natalie Portman is in there. The dude from no, the chick from Sex and the City. What's her name? Sarah Jessica
Sarah Jessica
Parker.
Parker.
Michael J. Fox is in there. The old lady, Sylvia Sidney, in her final film role, classic movie star. Uh, it's got Danny DeVito.
Yes, yes.
It's got my girl Pam Grier. It's got Jim Brown. I mean, it's got
I
everything
think
going for it.
isn't Michelle
Who?
Pfeiffer in there as well?
I'm looking at the cast list and it doesn't show her, and I don't remember seeing Michelle Pfeiffer in the
I haven't
movie.
seen this in ages.
Yeah, it's got the ensemble's got Jack Nicholson, Glenn Close, Annette Bening, Pierce Brosnan, Danny
Mhm.
DeVito, Martin Short, Sarah Jessica Parker, Michael J. Fox, Rod Steiger, Tom Jones, Lucas Haas, Pam Grier, Natalie Portman, Jim Brown, Lisa Marie Smith, and Sylvia Sidney. Yeah, as I was
Damn.
watching like the intro credits, I was like, oh shit, this is like it reminded me of that. You ever watch that old movie? It's a mad, 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 mad world. You
Yeah,
know,
yeah. It was
it's got
Ringo
like
Starr, I think.
everybody in it,
Yeah,
which I love that movie. But it
yeah.
just said let's just have like it's almost like when you have those what do you call those like those shit. What do you call them when they got those super bands? Like when I guess is it called a super band when they get like
They are called super bands. Yes.
yeah like the Traveling Wilburys or something? It's
Yeah,
got Dylan
exactly.
and Tom Petty and Roy Orbison or no, my favorite. What's the band with Johnny Cash, Willie Nelson? The shit that was a hell of a fucking super band. I love them, and they got that song about the reincarnated cowboys.
Yes, yes, yes.
The Ghost Rider comes tonight. Yippee
Yes, yes.
yay! Oh shit! Oh my god,
I know
that's a
the one
fucking
you're talking about too.
that's a super band. Wait. What's the name of that band? Band with Johnny Cash. I think it's the Wayman something. Wait, the Johnny
Yeah, something that
Cash.
starts with a W.
Yeah, the Highwaymen.
The
The
Highwaymen. Yes, yes, yes.
Highwaymen.
Exactly.
Johnny
Yeah.
Cash, Waylon Jennings, Willie Nelson, Chris Christopher. Oh man, how do you get better than that shit? I'm sorry.
Yeah. Yeah. That's like four legends just having fun, man.
Yes, the song "The Highwaymen." That's my fucking song
Yeah.
there. Shit. And then
Yeah.
when I got
And
older, go
they all
ahead.
have their own verse too. They all sing like one verse about like somebody who died under unfortunate circumstances due to hardship, but they all get their own verse and they chime in the chorus.
Yeah,
Yeah,
but what's cool about that song? Because I heard that song for the first time on Art Bell, the late night talk show guy, and I was always like, why does he play this song? Because other than it's a great song, but his show is all about paranormal shit. And then when I got older, I listened to the lyrics, and it's about reincarnation. Like every
Yeah,
verse is about a guy and then talking about his life, and then he dies, and then he's like, "But I'll return, return," you know. So I get
yeah,
chills whenever I listen to it because I'm like, it's a fucking country song about a reincarnated cowboy, you know, like or
yeah.
whatever. It's a great fucking song. So we got a lot of these super bands. So the Mad 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 World is like one of these movies, like the super movie. It's like every famous comedian, like from Jack
Yeah.
Lemmon to Lucille Ball to Carol Channing to you know what's his name, the dude that used to do all the tours in Korea and shit that everybody loves, the old ass comedian. I forgot his name now. Shit, classic comedian.
Jack
I used to
Benny.
watch him. Not Jack Benny, but in that vein. Come on, Pete. You know these guys. Everybody loves this guy. Come on, Pete.
Not ringing a bell, man.
Uh, he was a television star, kind of in the Milton Berle vein. Not George Burns, although I'm sure he's in that movie too. Oh shit, I can't believe I forgot this guy's name. He's like, I remember when he died. It's like everybody, like the world stopped. America stopped because one of the greats died. Not Mickey. No, I'm thinking somebody else. But anyway, so for me, it just fell flat. Like the movie Mars Attack. It had it had what was supposed to be funny lines. Like you could tell where the funny lines were, but they just weren't funny for me. And like the characters, I didn't give a damn about any of them. Jack Nicholson was pretty funny. Like I would love him as the president.
I liked his businessman character. That was funny.
I liked him better than the president one, except for I would love Jack Nicholson as the president
Oh,
of the
dude,
United States.
your man is Berle. Milton Berle.
Hmm?
Milton Berle. That's the guy.
It's not Milton Berle. It's not Milton Berle, but
Really?
it's around that era. Milton Berle era comedians. I'm googling this shit. So I'm gonna find out who the fuck the most influential comedians of TV's golden era. Let's see. It's gotta be one of these guys. Cause I used to live off of Nick at Night when I was a youngster. And so well, we got Lucille Ball, we got Milton Berle, we got Steve Allen, Don Rickles, Carol Burnett, Johnny Carson. No. Shit. It's not Jack Benny. I'll find out who the fuck this is at some point. And then you'll be like, oh yeah, that dude. Everybody knows that motherfucker. He was like one of the greats of all time. But anyway, back to this movie. You can tell I'm not really that interested in this movie. Uh, uh, yeah. So I didn't get it. I thought that the aliens were cute, but I didn't really understand why they made this whole show if they were going to attack anyway. You know, like they had this little thing with the dove. So I was hoping by the end it would have been kind of funny if all of it was due to a language misunderstanding because I never got this vibe.
Don't run.
That,
We're your friend. That
yeah,
part was funny.
yeah. So I got this vibe that the translator wasn't working that well. So it would have. I think I would have liked it if at the end they would have come back around to like the reason they attacked is because we said some bullshit to them right at the beginning, and really they did come in peace because you could tell that they weren't coming in peace. So whatever the translator was
Yeah.
translating back to us wasn't really what they were saying. So I don't know. I tried, but this one I give 0 stars to. I probably will never
Oh
watch it again.
wow. Oh,
It was terrible. It's a terrible movie.
I like.
What do you like about it?
Natalie Portman and Luke. Well, first of all, it was just funny. Like it was stupid funny, But I mean, it was actually kind of good that they went in that direction. They just went like full blown silly, which I really enjoyed. But I like how they beat the aliens too. Like Natalie Portman and Lucas Haas teaming up at the end. Like they were like the most unlikely characters to save the day, and they did it. But I also enjoyed the aliens. The aliens were hilarious. Like the whole like they're trying to invade Earth, but they're trying to be duplicitous and make people feel like they're not being menacing when they're disintegrating people and destroying buildings. Yeah, I found most aspects of it. It's so stupid. Like I don't see how you could not love it. Like you bask in the stupidity, which is very deliberate.
No, it was deliberate. Like the whole end scene with like Tom Jones and his singing to the animals and stuff, and I'm like, it it, it just felt flat. Like there wasn't any spark to the movie, and it had everything to have spark. It had a great cast. It had a great premise, great special effects, but I could never get the punchline. Like, what was the punchline? Like, who's the dummy? Okay, I guess the humans are the dummies, but then you had the ending where they spoilers. The old lady, or even the old lady. I mean, she was the grandma. It was such an attempt at being like, okay, the old lady who's doesn't know what's going on and yet saves the day. Like it was so in your face. Like this is what this character is. It's the old lady who doesn't know what's going on, but at the end, the aliens don't get her, and I'm like, ugh, I don't know, dude. I found this site on Google that the this is so frustrating. Like the picture of the site is the picture of this actor, and it's like celebrities that served in the military. I'm on person 22, and I still haven't gotten to the dude, but I definitely saw his picture. I got to Jimi Hendrix before this guy. Like everybody had served in the Paul Newman served in the military, Humphrey Bogart, MC Hammer, Ernest Hemingway. But where the fuck is the dude? He was like the cover shot. Kirk Douglas, Jamie Farr. Is it Mickey Rooney? No, can't be. No, Bob Hope. Fucking shit.
Oh, Jesus Christ, that's like the most obvious, dude. But
Yeah,
I
he
mean,
was like,
like Bob Hope is going back to like fuck the 1930s and shit.
no, he's not that old. He was.
Well, he's dead now.
Yes, he. Um, Bob Hope got like an honorary veteran uh medal from the in 1997. He was still kicking. He was like 1950s. That's when he did a lot of his stuff. Bob Hope. Yes, but I used to like Bob Hope. I used to watch his shit back in the day. So I was upset that I couldn't remember who the hell Bob Hope was for a
Yeah,
second there.
no, that now that you say it, it seems so obvious. Like,
Yes. Yeah, he did like NBC comedy specials beginning in April 1950. Yeah, so he was pretty big during the 50s through the early 70s, and I guess he just kind of fell out of comedy, moved ahead, and he just stuck to his old schmaltzy routine. But oh, I wanted to like this movie so much. I hate it when there's a movie that I watch that I really want to like, and then at the end it's like, kind of like Coming to America. It's like one of those that although I like Coming to America a little bit more than this, because it actually does have some really funny fucking parts. But this one just didn't do it. Although I finally got if anybody's a Howard Stern fan, whenever Eric the Midget was on, they would always do that
yeah,
sound effect. And then I found out that it's from Mars Attacks. I was like, oh, okay, that's him. Uh, and there were a few things that I thought that Tim Burton was going for, which seemed like a cool setup to something, and it didn't go anywhere. Like when the alien, the Martian, is looking at the Playboy magazine,
Yeah.
And I get that, okay, it's to kind of make that sexy woman in order to seduce Martin Short's character to get into the White House. But again, all unnecessary. Like, they have the firepower to just bust in there. Like, I didn't get the Martians' motivation for just being assholes. You know? I mean, it would be okay if, I mean, I'm totally okay with them being assholes, but it didn't really make sense. Like, why are they being jerks when they could have just come in and just attacked everything? Like, if there was some type of punchline to the joke of them just liking to fuck around with people, it would have made more sense because they go from just we come in peace to now we're gonna zap the shit out of you,
Yeah.
Captain Love, to then we're just gonna fuck
That's
with
what I
you.
found funny. That's what I found funny, that they were so duplicitous about it. It's like, okay, like obviously we're invading you, but we're gonna try and I think it actually might. I don't know if this is intentional, but it seems like it's saying something about culture differences too. It's like, okay, we don't really know the appropriate way to approach these people, so we're going to approach them as friends and then kill them.
But why? If your final intention is
Maybe
just to
they just have a
kill,
different culture.
mm, I guess. But if you have a different culture, um, I don't know if I would. I don't know if I would fuck around with you. You know, like I would just try to kill you, or
Right.
maybe a cultural difference might make me fight you. But then, oh, here's what does Roger Ebert say? Let's go to Roger. He says Ed Wood himself could have told us what's wrong with this movie. The makers felt superior to the material. To be funny, even schlock has to believe in itself. Look for Inframan and Invasion of the Bee Girls, and you'll find movies that lack stars and big budgets and fancy special effects, but are funny and fun in a way that Burton's mega production never really understands.
All
And
right,
I,
dude. I am writing down Invasion of the Bee Girls right now
yeah,
because I have
1973,
I
and
have heard of
Infra.
that movie, but yes, on the watch list.
Yeah, I guess I kind of agree with him. Like, it's like it never felt like Burton or any of the actors were in on the joke themselves, and they were just trying to play this like we want to make a really big budget serious comedy about kind of the same issue I had with that PG Gorman, whatever,
Right,
uh,
right.
where it's like you're spoofing something bad, but by recreating the bad thing, like bit by bit. So now you kind of turn bad yourself. So I don't know. That's where it kind of threw me off. Because I love spoofy movies. I mean, that's what's so great about Ed Wood. That is where he did it amazing because although he obviously he makes the movie about Ed Wood, so he's not making a bad movie about Ed Wood. It's a really well made movie, but the schlockiness is still in there because it's fucking Ed Wood. But it feels like the actors are in on it at the same time. They're in on the joke that Ed Wood made terrible movies, and then we're gonna reshoot some of these bad scenes. I don't know. It's a fine line to walk, man. I think it's one of the finest lines to walk in movies is
Yeah.
trying to spoof something that's bad and making it work without actually being bad yourself. And I don't think in this movie Tim Burton achieved it particularly, you know. But whatever. I know it's split audiences. It's one of those that
Yeah, I have to say, like, I saw it in the cinemas, so I think it was like probably a much richer cinema going experience than it would be like watching it on your computer.
yeah, I mean the visuals were awesome, you know. And there was some sight gags that were funny, you know, with Sarah Jessica Parker's head on a dog and
Mm.
Pierce Brosnan
That is a
body all
great scene.
dismembered.
Yeah.
And they have a kiss at the end when their heads are. But it's kind of like, okay, it's like a half. It's a joke that's almost there, but you didn't work hard enough for the punchline or the setup. But whatever. First time watch, probably will never see it again. That's that. So before we go off tonight, y'all, we're talking action movies real quick because we just figured, hey, let's talk genres because we talk so much about movies and sometimes they're older ones. So we thought tonight we could talk about some action movies that we really love, and mine are probably all ones you have seen. Maybe Pete's got a few surprises in there because I know he watches a lot of international movies, Korean movies and shit. I don't know, but Pete, we'll just rattle off some top five real quick. You want to go first?
All right. Do you want me to go with the
Give us
whole
your
list, or
five. Yeah, just give
my
us your
number?
five, and then I'll give my five, and then your four and my four. We'll go that way.
All right. So, this was really tough actually, but we did it on like 15 minutes notice. So do not hold me to this as gospel. This is just an improvised list. Number five, I am going with Zhang Yimou's Hero, which is the story of Chinese rebels trying to fight against the soon to be emperor of China and ultimately realizing that China needs to be united. It's a very patriotic Chinese story, which is probably why it got widespread critical acclaim in China. But man, it's got some killer action scenes. I mean, Jet Li, he's your man. He's a ballet dancer and a martial artist, so he can do it all. And it's also got the amazing Zhang Ziyu in it, who
Where's
actually
this
plays
movie
a
from?
China,
No, when? When's it from?
2002.
Oh, it's
No,
not that old.
2004, I think, actually.
Okay, I thought it'd be older. Oh, cool. I've heard of this movie, but I've never seen it. I know you're a big fan
Yeah,
of John Woo, right?
no, it's not John Woo. It's Zhang Yimou.
John Lee?
Zhang Yimou.
Oh, John E. Moo. Okay, I thought you
Yeah,
said John.
not John, not John. Zhang, like with a Z.
Ah, got it. Zan Lee.
Zhang Yimou. E is spelled Y-I. Fuck, dude, you never
Oh
lived
my
in China.
goodness.
You don't know how to spell pinyin.
Here we go. Here, it's called Hero, right?
Yes.
From 2002. There it is. 2002 movie. There. Oh, I've seen this. Okay. Zhang Yimou.
Yeah.
Zhang Yimou. Okay. You know what I thought you said at first? I thought you said Johnny Woo. And I was like, oh, he really likes John Woo so much. He's calling him by his pet name, Johnny. Um, but all right. No, I know this movie. Yeah. No, definitely. Definitely, definitely, definitely.
Yeah, it's got some babes in it too, man.
Oh, yeah. Did you see that Japanese band I tagged you in the music group? I've never
I
heard of these
did,
guys
but
before.
the music sucked though. It was like
No, did you
oh,
get to the part where the girl sings though?
no, I
I like.
didn't. I couldn't get past the experimental jazz
Oh
psychedelic
no,
stuff.
get skip ahead because it turns into like this kind of proto rock band after. Like, because me too. Like, I was kind of digging it for a little bit because it's kind of like this kind of Japanese funk or something. And then the bitch comes in. That's why I said skip ahead to the girl, and she's real cute, man. And
Yeah,
and
she
like
is. She is.
and the band kind of switches style a little bit. It gets a little bit more rock ish, but I dug it. Um, and my number five, shit, I put these out of order, but I'll give Kill Bill only because I just recently saw it again. It's like my go-to date movie, and if the person that I'm watching it with digs it, or at least gets through most of it, it's kind of like my tell of whether that person and I will get along, because it's got all the elements I kind of dig: dark humor, karate, action, blood, gore, and nice characters, interesting characters. Although I agree with Pete's description of the movie that it's all style and very little substance, and Kill Bill 2 is a much superior movie, and it really
David
is.
Carradine, man.
I know. It's just a much better movie, Kill Bill 2. But at the same time, it's like Kill Bill 1 is just like comfort blanket. It's just so easy to put on, and there's so many cool set pieces down from the, was it Vivica Fox, that first fight in the kitchen to
Yeah,
her fight in Japan. I mean, there's not much in the middle. It gets a little bit longish, long in the tooth in that whole section where she's getting the sword from Hiroto Mato, whatever his name is. But it works. It's got Uma Thurman plays an awesome action hero. Love her yellow suit. Love the Japanese rock band with that woo 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 song. Uh, yeah, there's not much to dislike about the movie, but exactly what Pete said. It's just kind of like a surfacey movie, you know,
mm,
that you get
yeah,
through. There's some nice action scenes. I love the fight with that little bitch with the chain and ball and chain, with the spiky ball and chain.
yeah,
You know,
yeah.
some good
The
action.
the thing with surfacey movies though is that they work better when they're short, and one is fucking long.
I agree. Like the middle section is just like, oh, good lord. Even that. I mean, I appreciate that whole anime thing in the middle
Yeah,
where they explain, the backstory of Lucy Liu's character. I mean, it's
yeah,
beautifully fucking rendered, but when you're just trying to watch it with somebody to like get to the good part, which is the fight in Japan, you're like, oh my god, can she just get the fucking sword faster than how she gets it? And can we skip past the whole backstory with Lucy Liu? Like, okay, her parents were assassinated, and then she got recruited as an assassin. There you go. 5 minutes.
yeah,
That's all you need
yeah.
to say that. So I agree with you. But Quentin tends to make these long ass movies. So
Yeah, and another thing that he does that I really don't like. Sorry, Justin, but yeah, there is an aspect of Quentin I don't like is that he tends to make things more ugly than necessary. And a real issue I had with this is the bit where she's like getting serial raped in her hospital bed. I mean,
yes,
like that was not necessary. It was just done just to fucking trigger people. And I don't see how that added anything to the movie. And he did that in Django with the Leonardo DiCaprio character, who has slaves fight in battle royals. Like it's all done just to get under people's skin. And I don't find it very effective. It's like, yes, it gets under people's skin, but it doesn't actually serve a point to the movie.
yeah, no, there's really, because I mean, it got her angry at the doctor, and she smashed his head in and stole his car. But you figure she would have escaped from the hospital one way or the other. She didn't need that extra impetus of, wow, I'm really extra pissed now because not only was I shot in the head and beat and lost my baby, I've been raped for 4 years. Um,
Yeah,
but yeah, that's just Tarantino. Love him or hate
yeah,
him, that's just what he does. But it's still a fun movie. Like it's just though, it's funny with Tarantino. With most movies, I'm not somebody that can go back and rewatch movies that often. I just don't. Exceptions. Star Wars, I've probably seen at least 4 or 5 times. Star Trek, of course, I've seen those movies. I can't count how many times, but it's not that many movies that can go back to and just rewatch. And all of Tarantino's movies, I think I've just seen once, except for Kill Bill. For whatever reason, it's just so surfacey and so just kind of easy to slip onto or slip in and just like, okay, let's just, you can keep it on in the background. And, you just kind of already know when the good parts come, that I enjoy it for that reason. His other movies are a bit more of a chore to get through for me.
Yeah,
Even
yeah.
Pulp
And
Fiction,
I
I
like
mean,
his last few. I mean, Once Upon a Time in Hollywood, I can't actually see myself watching it again, but it's the one would be most likely to. Like Django, I might actually watch Inglorious Bastards again because I gave it a really negative review when it first came out, and a lot of people are like, "What the fuck are you talking about? This is really good." So I could be inclined to go back and watch that and see
dude,
what I was
that's my
missing.
I think that's my no, my least favorite was The Hateful Eight, but Inglorious is right there at the bottom. I just didn't like that movie at all. Like it's well
Yeah,
made, and there in
yeah,
that.
that's no,
Go
that's
ahead.
the thing. Every time I go back and rewatch a movie that I didn't like, and people tell me no, give it another chance, I usually just find out more reasons to hate it.
Yeah, I'm pretty much like that. I liked no. There's two scenes in Inglorious Bastard which make it worth watching. It's the opening sequence where he's in the house and they're hiding under the floorboards. Like the tension in that is incredible. So that sucked me into the movie. And then the scene in the bar where they're trying to
The
pretend to
bar
be,
scene was amazing. The bar scene
yes,
was
they're
a high
pretending to be
point.
German. That's amazing. But then everything else in between it was just like, ugh. It it, it's the well, I don't want to turn this into a Quentin thing. So last thing I'll say about Quentin, it's his. I don't always feel like his characters are real characters. They're just vehicles for his really awesome air quotes, quote unquote, dialogue.
Yeah,
And there just happen to be these shapes there, these human shapes that deliver that really awesome dialogue, and it's funny and this and that and the third. But I can't imagine any of these people being real people. And I think that's what separates him from another god of dialogue, Woody Allen. I can imagine a lot of
yeah,
Woody Allen's characters actually being, I think I've met some of them, you know? And I
yeah,
think that's
yeah.
what separates Woody Allen from a Quentin Tarantino. I think even Kevin Smith writes better dialogue than Quentin because I can imagine those people. Like these are people I've met, in Clerks or Clerks 2 or Chasing
Oh,
Amy or
exactly. And it's
Dogma.
funny how Kevin Smith just does it by like inserting the word bitch into every third word that's uttered in a sentence.
Yeah, no, I don't mind the cursing. For me, that the only thing is that it's like it's great dialogue. It moves the story forward. It's funny, but it feels like his characters are just vehicles for that dialogue, which is what I liked about Once Upon a Time, is that was one of the first movies other than Jackie Brown that was like, oh no, these are real characters who happen to be saying interesting things. Like I was immersed in these characters. I didn't. There was not really any plot to follow in that movie. I was just like hypnotized.
No,
Like,
no,
okay, these are
no,
interesting
no.
characters.
I mean, it's a great book too, but I mean, that's the thing about Elmore Leonard's books. They they're mostly driven by the dialogue. It's people caught up in fucked up situations that go horribly south, mostly because of the bad decisions made by the characters.
Mhm.
And the person who makes the least stupid decision is usually the one who comes on out on top, which in Jackie Brown is the Robert Forster character. He's like the only one with a real moral compass. So that's why he comes out on head.
Yeah, but anyway, we'll do a Quentin ranking at some point.
Yeah, please, yeah.
Getting to our next number four. What's your number four pick?
My number four, we're going to be really quick here because not only is it getting late and I have to go to bed, but I reviewed this on our podcast a few months ago, and that is Dirty Harry. How can you not love fucking Dirty Harry, man?
Oh
It's Clint
shit!
Eastwood. Yeah, it's Clint Eastwood with a 44 Magnum taking on the Zodiac for all the people of San Francisco who got fucked over by that motherfucker. And it basically it changed it changed the standard for the action hero. You know, like all of a sudden, like all these things, it's gone back. Obviously, nowadays we're not allowed to do that anymore. But at the time, yes, it was raising the bar for the action hero, like the cop who doesn't care about the rules, the cop who cares more about the victim than the rights of the suspect. That shit was amazing and a total game changer.
And I wonder if it was one of the first movies that had an action star that didn't necessarily have to like jump through hoops and jump out of windows, and because
Yeah,
he's
no,
not
he
the most
didn't. He shoots
agile
people
guy.
long distance. No, no.
Yeah,
He shoots people long distance with his big ass 357 Magnum. And he
yeah,
set so many tropes too, like the whole "Do you feel lucky, punk?" I mean, it's like,
yes,
oh God, how could you not
yeah,
worship Clint Eastwood after seeing that
yeah. It's
movie?
the everyday guy that could be an action hero, which led to other stuff like Charles Bronson and Death Wish and a bunch of other movies, including one that's
And
on my list.
definitely, like Bronson was around for a long time before he did Death Wish and became an
Yes,
action hero. That
yeah,
was just where he found his niche.
yes, he became an action hero late in life. Um, my number four. Let's see here, man. I guess I'm gonna go with Rambo 4,
Oh
the
wow,
goriest
okay.
of the bunch.
It is bloody as fuck.
Yeah, I mean, I now that I'm doing the list, I've thought of putting a movie that maybe you have on yours, Predator, but I'll go
No,
with Rambo
I
4.
consider Predator more of a sci-fi movie anyway.
Yeah, it kind of mixes genres a little bit, but just straight up action, Die Hard 4, Rambo 4. Pete and I actually plug. We did a nice little Rambo ranking you can find on the channel, but what I love about this one is that it stopped taking itself seriously like the first three movies where it tried to
Yeah,
actually deal with character development and
yeah.
this, that, and the third. I mean, the first one's a
And oh,
classic though.
Phil, do you remember the name of the villain? Because I do.
Oh shit, it was a really funny name, right? It was like Ping Wing. What
No,
was it?
Pa T.
Patiti. Yeah. uh, yeah, and it's just Rambo again trying to live out a quiet life in the middle of a war zone.
Well, he's
And
in
so
Thailand. He's in
we're in
Thailand.
Thailand, but like the war is like almost it's only like 20 kilometers down the road. It's not like he's that far
Yeah,
away from if you want to retire to like the quiet life, go to
yeah,
like Nebraska or
but
something. Even
he's
in
in
the
the
50s.
Asian. Well, yeah, but okay. Two things about that. First of all, he's in the Asian zone. That's where he spent much of his life. And
Yes.
in the last one, Last Blood, he actually does retire to rural America, and it still
No, but
doesn't work.
he was like 20 like an hour away from the Mexican border. Like he's not that far away from the roadway to bad shit. Like if you really, really wanted to retire, you should go to like Portland, Oregon. Go where
Yeah.
Craig is in Seattle. Then he
Well,
would have like
no,
killed some
but
Antifa.
isn't where all those problems started? Like, I know
Oh
it was filmed
yeah,
in DC.
yeah. So he can't go up north. He needs to go to, let's see, a nice quiet place. No, he's got to go to like Minnesota or something, or like Nebraska, North Dakota, South Dakota, Montana. Ain't shit
Yeah,
happening over there. Because even in Seattle, like he probably would have killed some Antifa guys over there. So I can't say
yeah,
Seattle's a good
exactly.
place for him either. But Nebraska, North Dakota, you still got the horses. You can still be a rancher. Don't live 20 kilometers from the U.S. Mexican border where all the drug trafficking is coming in if you want to retire to a peaceful life given your history. So this movie, yeah, he's like 20 minutes away from these where there's like these warlords trying killing motherfuckers, and then he just kills
Yeah,
a bunch of people. Like the death count is incredible,
it's triple
and
digits. It's triple digits, I believe.
yes,
Because
and it's a
he
gore
has that
fest.
60 caliber machine gun, and like when he
Oh
hits
god,
people with the bullets, they just explode into piles of
I
goo.
know, and I enjoyed
I
it
actually watched
more.
that one twice
Yeah, I
when we were doing our podcast. Like I'd never seen it, and I watched it. It was like, oh shit, I gotta watch that again.
dude. What you were saying about when you watch a bad movie, you watch it again, you find more reasons to hate it. When I watched it again, because I didn't actually like the ending of this movie because of the fact that he just stands there and like machine guns people down. Because usually at the end of the Rambo movies, like he has some type of action set piece where he's stuck somewhere, or he has a fight with somebody. Whereas this one, he just kind of sat back, and I was like, yeah, kind of a letdown. But then on second watch, I was like, this is fucking glorious. It's like it's
Yeah.
exactly how I wanted to end. It's just him there, letting out all his rage, just shooting motherfuckers down like fish in a little like kiddie pool, like when you're fishing in these
Yeah.
little kiddie pools. It was wonderful. So I give that high marks. If you
One
have not seen Rambo 4.
one thing I really liked about this too is how the priest learns the Rambo way, because he's like so critical of his violence, and then
Yes.
after like so much, like he actually murders a few motherfuckers, and it's like, all right, brother, you've learned the Rambo way.
Yeah. No, I dig it. I can dig it. What's your number 3?
My number three, I'm actually shocked that this is only number three because it is a classic, and that is John Woo's The Killer,
Now
starring
we got some John Woo for real. Okay.
starring Chow Yun Fat, and it
Great
is a completely bloody, violent shoot 'em up that somehow has like the same storytelling level as like in 19th century opera. It's a great story. Our boy Chow Yun Fat plays a hitman, but because it's played by him, he's a sympathetic hitman. He's a hitman with a heart, and he's assigned to take out this warlord. And in the process, the flash of his gunfire blinds a singer at the nightclub where he's carrying out this hit, where he murders like 30 people. It's got like it's an awesome scene. He's got like the double guns going, jumping backwards, like all those tropes you see in Tarantino, in Kill Bill. Actually, that's where those come from. Like they came from this movie. Like why watch Kill Bill when you can watch The Killer? And he blinds her, and he feels guilty about it. So he kind of dedicates his life to getting her an operation where she can have her sight restored. And the money that he's going to use to pay for this comes from his bosses offering quote unquote one last job. That's the kiss of death in action movies. When a hitman is offered one last job, it's like, oh shit, that's the one where they're going to murder you, which of course is what happens. He carries out the hit, but his bosses try to have him whacked, and there's a cop who's really on his trail But when they meet, he finds out how emotionally invested he is in helping this girl, and he decides to throw in with him and take down his bosses. And it becomes kind of a buddy movie, love story. But it's crazy, man. It's like really high level. Like, if anybody has seen like any of John Woo's American movies and asked themselves, like, what is the big deal about this guy? Like, why is he so popular? You got to see some of his old Hong Kong movies. And this is the one. There are several other good ones. Hard Boiled is really good. Bullet in the Head is really good. But this is the motherfucking king, man. Like, one of the best action movies ever.
Cool. Yeah, I want to check out John Woo because I've only seen his American stuff, which I wasn't didn't grab me as much. He made big headlines because I think he directed Mission Impossible 2 or 3. I don't remember now.
Two.
2. There were all the
Yeah.
doves and the flying motorcycles and all this
Yeah.
stuff.
And he did that one with Nicolas Cage, Wind Talkers, which was actually pretty good. It was
Okay.
much more in his I don't want to say comfort zone, but it's much more representative of what his Hong Kong work was like.
Okay. Yeah, because I remember not liking that one as much. I think it's my least favorite of the Mission Impossible movies. And I guess I could give a honorable mention to the Mission Impossible series because they seem to be just getting better and better and better and better. Like every
Yeah,
one
the
I've
last
seen
one
has
was
been
really
better than the last
good.
one. Yeah, each one is better than the last. I like that they just cashed in on just let's make this our version of James Bond. It's just a Tom Cruise show. It's
Yeah,
like at one point he had a whole team with him. Like now it's it's just the Tom Cruise show. But I dig it. I can dig the Tom Cruise show because man, oh man. So honorable mention for the
the one
Die Hard series
the one thing about
or
Mission
not Die Hard,
Impossible,
Mission
yeah,
Impossible
Mission,
series.
yeah, the one thing about that series though is like I do not retain anything from those movies. Like, if you caught me 48 hours after watching a Mission Impossible movie, I could not tell you what it was about.
Well, that's been the criticism since the first one. Like, who the fuck knows what the plot of the first movie is? I have no clue. I can
You just
remember
remember the scenes. You remember
exactly.
the
Like
scenes.
everybody remembers the scene where he's hanging from those wires. Everybody remembers the scene where he's hanging from the side of the train. Everybody remembers the face mask, whatever scenes, and that's it. I even like the best critics were like, "This movie's great, but we can't tell you what the hell was going
Yeah,
on." Uh, so I feel you. I'm the same. Like I walk out of the theater and I'm like, "Wow, that was awesome." Don't ask me what the plot line was because I have no clue. Now, the reason I said this was your number 3, right? I think
yes, it
so
is my
because
number
you went
three.
first. Well, the reason I had a little slip up and I said Die Hard because I put that as my number 3, but not the first one, as classic as it is, not the second one, which isn't a half-ass bad, isn't a half bad sequel, but the third one. I really like Die Hard 3 so much. I think maybe because it's the first one that I was aware of watching as a kid, and I had to go back and watch Die Hard 1 and 2 a little bit later. But I just really love Samuel Jackson playing off of Bruce Willis. I love Jeremy Irons as the villain. I dig the fact that it's like a sprawling movie. It's like all over the city because they got to figure out like the clues to where the bombs are and getting the kids out of the school and this, that, and the third. And the buddy cop aspect, of course, with Samuel L. And where, the opening sequence where Bruce Willis is naked with the sandwich sign saying, nigger should die or something like that. Like, it just, for me, stylistically, it worked. Comedy aspect of it worked. That's when I think John McClane really, they doubled down on him being a comedic character and it works. I just like everything about the movie. Like maybe Die Hard 1 is probably a better movie, but Die Hard 3 is a really solid, good, great, pretty great movie too. Not as good as the first, but it's good enough where I'm like, that's my favorite of the series, So
Mm.
I've seen that one a bunch of times, and I always enjoy it every time I see it. So I like that one.
All right. So I'm going to be super quick here, like 30 seconds. My number 2 is Die Hard, and I'm not going to review it because I just did on our Christmas podcast. So
Yeah,
I don't feel like I have anything more to say on that except R.I.P. Alan Rickman. He was awesome.
that was a fucking great movie, and like that's what I'm saying. Like just because I put Die Hard 3 as my favorite, Die Hard 1 is a fucking classic, and it's stands the test of time. Still has rewatchability. Although I like them all except for the number 5. Number 5 sucks balls, but I like 1
Yeah,
through
no, I
4.
like number 4 though. I like number 4, seeing him interact with his daughter as a teenager, because like we do get the shot of her in the original Die Hard, and it's like, okay, like if we're gonna connect this character to the character he was in the first movie, what is his relationship with his daughter now? And it turns out it's pretty shitty, which is understandable. But
And
I
it
thought,
plays off
yeah,
more of the comedy.
yeah, exactly, yeah. And I thought she was a good little brat too. I like the actress who played Lucy McLean in
Nah, it
Die Hard
works. It
4.
works. And my number 2, I'm gonna say again, mixing genres, but a lot of people would consider this an action movie also, is Terminator 2
All right, yeah,
Judgment Day. And it's got everything working for it. It's got Arnold at his absolute prime. It's
yes,
got Guns and fucking Roses at their absolute prime. It's got my girl Linda Hamilton just showing it up and actually being the star of the whole thing, and
yes,
saying
yes.
and just being the most badass action hero, one of the male or female in movie history. It's got little John, what's his name, Johnny Lang, what's the little boy there,
Edward
who
Furlong.
Edward Furlong, who I will admit when I was that young, guys, because this came out in '92, I had a crush on him. We were about the same
His
age,
life went in the toilet, man.
and his life did go on a toilet. And I definitely did not have an adult crush on Edward Long. Now he did
Yeah,
not age well, and so it's got everything going for it. Classic action scenes. Cameron at his prime too, although he made a bunch of good films after, and I don't know what hasn't been said about T2 that I can add, so I'm not even going to talk that much about it. It just works every fucking time. Great fucking movie. Oh, and it's got fucking Robert
Robert
Patrick
Patrick. Yes, yes, Mr.
T1000,
X
which we
Files.
will eventually get to as we're doing our X Files,
Yes, yes.
our X Files marathon on Thursdays. If you guys want to watch, so you get some T1000. Oh man, no. I mean, can you take yourself back to 1990? Was it 91, 92, Pete? And
91.
seeing those effects for the first time, there was like nothing like it. Like we were just like,
Yeah,
how the fuck did they do that shit? It was
that's the
incredible.
marriage of Schwarzenegger and Cameron, man. Those two guys are visionaries. Like, they
Yeah,
just want to take it to the next level.
incredible. Like just the whole the melting going through the bars. Although I will say this, Michael Jackson was a little ahead of the game because he used that morphing technology just a tad bit before in his video for Black and White. But Michael Jackson, again, another dude that always tried to push the limits of the visual medium, although he did it in his music videos. But you watch his music videos, they're like mini movies, and he would be working with top talents, John Landis, Spike Lee,
Yeah,
Spielberg,
yeah.
because he was like, I just want to push this shit to the next level. But although the morphine thing was cool in his black and white video, Terminator 2 just took it to the whole another level. And go ahead, your number one action
My
movie.
my number one, you were gonna kick yourself for not even thinking of this because nobody thinks it of as an action movie, but obviously, like it's totally an action movie, and that is Steven Spielberg's. Finish my sentence.
Wait, let me think about this. Steven Spielberg movie that's an action movie. Not Indiana Jones, because you're not a huge fan
Yes,
of Indiana.
yes, Raiders of the
Really?
Lost Ark. Yes,
Good lord. I would never guess
that
that.
is an action movie, man.
No, I agree with you. I just never thought. I thought you weren't a fan of the indie series.
Are you kidding? Well, I'm not a fan of the series. I only like the original. Actually,
Okay.
all of the other ones, Last Crusade is actually pretty good. I like Last
I
Crusade.
like Last Crusade a lot. I think that's my favorite.
Yeah, but Temple of Doom is garbage, and
That's garbage.
yeah, the fourth one everyone seems to hate, and I can't say I hate it because I don't remember it. So that's not obviously a good sign.
It's
But I can't say,
watchable, but it's not that good.
yeah, yeah, I can't say I hate it, but Temple of Doom I saw in the theaters and I didn't watch it again for like 20 years. And then I did a rewatch of all of them. And I was like, ooh, that's actually worse than I remember. I think because I saw it when I was like a 12-year-old kid, I was a bit more forgiving. But watching it as an adult, I was like, man, that's
Dude,
crap.
I back when I was doing more blogging than YouTubing, I did rankings of movies like Jurassic Park, whatever. And I tried to do Indiana Jones, and I couldn't finish Temple of Doom. I got like halfway through. I was like, I can't watch more of this. It's like it was burning a hole
Yeah,
through my brain.
it's
Uh,
abysmal.
so I want to finish it just so I can get to Crusade, but I don't think I am. So I think I'll just watch The Last Crusade again because I haven't seen that in about 20 years either. But I know I watched when I did. I watched it like three, four, 5 times, and I really love it. But
Yeah,
yeah, I feel you. Raiders, though, cool movie. I dig it.
yeah. I mean, it like we were talking about like the super bands, the Highwaymen, the Traveling Wilburys.
Uh
This is like the super band of movie making.
huh.
You got George Lucas producing, you got Steven Spielberg directing, John Williams doing the score, Harrison Ford in the leading role, and it's basically the same premise as Star Wars. It's exactly the same premise as Star Wars. It is a homage to old school 1930s serials, but instead of setting it in space like Flash Gordon, they did it in a pre-World War II setting, and it just like ups the ante every scene. Like it blows your mind to the point where like the climax is a bunch of evil spirits coming out of the Ark of the Covenant and blowing people's heads up. It's like if you're waiting for like how much more awesome can this get, we're delivering it to you. Here's burning Nazis with their heads exploding. I mean, how could you not love that?
Man, I saw a doc on this movie and on how difficult it was to do that special effect where the main bad guy's face melts. It was incredible how they did that back in the day because it was all kind of stop motion. They didn't have
Yeah,
the computer generated effects, and it's so fucking cool. Although, have you seen the whole thing about this movie where they it's this thing where Indy is actually completely unnecessary in the movie. Like nothing he does in the movie actually will. Like if he wasn't in the movie, we would still get to the same end that we get, which is them finding the ark, opening it, and getting their heads blown off, which
yeah,
is kind of funny.
exactly. I
Like
have I
he's
haven't seen that, but that's a valid point.
oh, it's funny. I was trying to find the quick video on that because he just goes point for point. It's like he is a non part in his own movie. Like he's totally
Yeah.
unnecessary in the movie. Um, but oh, yeah, great movie. So I definite props to Indy. That was a
I
big part
actually
of my
saw that
childhood.
I actually saw this movie in one of those old school, back before multiplexes. There's a cinema in Victoria called the Royal Theatre, and it's now a playhouse. Like they have plays and concerts and
Oh,
operas
nice.
there. But I saw this on the advanced premiere. It was like 6 days before it was supposed to be released. And my mom won tickets on a radio call-in show. So we actually
Oh,
got to, yeah, we got to see this like 6 days before it even premiered to the general public. And yeah, it was awesome. Like everything from the beginning. Like they have that scene at the beginning where he's being chased by a giant boulder, and I
yes.
mean, yeah, just like that whole scene is actually, it is relevant to the plot because it explains his rivalry with Belloc.
Yes.
Um, but the actual like quest for the idol that he's chasing in Peru is completely incidental. Like
Mm-hmm.
besides explaining his rivalry with Belloc, that whole scene is really just about setting the tone, and it's a great
Big
tone.
showpiece. I think it's
Yeah,
like, and it's set again. I mean, I'm trying to think of movies before this. Maybe you may remember some, but I can't think of these Hollywood blockbusters before then. Because one, there weren't that many. Spielberg pretty much created the blockbuster,
yeah,
and
he did.
and Lucas with Star Wars and Jaws, but this thing where you start your action movies with the big set piece. It's like when you go to watch an opera and they play the overture, and it's like these
Yeah,
are the best moments of this whole fucking opera, the musical moments. So you're in there, and then it's gonna settle down. Like in midi, what's it called? Midi resis, like in mid action. You know, like the Greek uh, uh, like the Greek mythologies, where you get put right in the middle of the action and then it calms down to like.
yeah,
So
and
if
they
it is,
do
it's
that here
a
too.
showpiece.
Like you have that awesome opening scene, and then the next thing you see is him teaching university in Connecticut. Like it just totally takes it right back off. Like so we see that Indiana Jones is this badass adventurer, and then we take him back to fucking Connecticut where he's dealing with flirtatious students and basically living a kind of boring life. And then the State Department comes to him and they're like, we want you to go after the Ark of the Covenant. And, like on a subliminal level, you're like, okay, like we know this guy is living a boring teacher's life, but we've also just seen him doing this crazy ass shit in Peru. So if he gets into this shit, it's going to be mental. And it turns out to be.
Yeah, in medias res. That's the Latin phrase, meaning in the midst of things. It's used to describe when a story opens with the character already in the middle of things, whether it's a high octane car chase or getting chased by a fucking ball. So yeah, great, 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 and then the rest of the movie lives up to the great opening salvo. I love the scene where he's fighting the guys in, was it Morocco or something, and the guy
Yeah,
does
where
all
he
that
shoots
crazy,
him, where he shoots
yeah, he
him
does all the
in a
crazy
sword
knife
fight.
shit, and then he just shoots him. It's like, okay, so great comedy. The actress in that is really funny too. I forgot her name now.
Karen Allen.
Yeah, she's a great
She was
foil.
also in Scrooged, actually.
Oh, I didn't know. Yeah, but she's
Yeah.
awesome. So great movie. And then my final movie, guys, because we gotta go for real, is what is my it's Mad Max Fury Road, which I saw like about 5, 6 times
Oh,
in the
wow.
theater. No, I think I saw it 5 times in the theater. And it just blew my mind away. Then con- I haven't seen it in about 3 or 4 years, so I might have to go back and watch it. It's like a video game, it just jumps into the action. It's just one long fucking car chase, and then they get all the way to where they gotta go, and they realize, oh shit, there's nothing here. We might as well go back and beat the shit out of the dude that we hate. So the car chase is in reverse. And that's the whole fucking movie. Great concept. But it just kicks so much butt. The practical effects with little tinges of special effects here. All those car scenes were like really filmed, like real people hanging from this and hanging from that. And I will admit, I saw it again once on the small screen. Doesn't work as well on the small screen, but it's still entertaining because of our girl Charlize, which is incredible. Tom Hardy's great, but she steals the show.
Yes.
Um, and but on the big screen, in this, I will give our boys that always complain about, oh, you got to see this one on the big screen. I'll give them credit for this one because this movie on the big screen with the surround sound, with the explode, like a few movies. I have a few movies in my life that just blew me the fuck away. Like I've never, maybe Matrix would probably be one, although I didn't put it on my favorite action movies because it really isn't. But it did like blew me the fuck away first time I saw it. Terminator 2, which is on my list, So I have few of these movies that are spectacles and just stick with you, and you're like, shit, like how the fuck did they make this? This is one of them. So that's top
Wow.
of my list. I love Mad Max Fury Road. It was probably my favorite movie of that decade or whatever it was. I guess it was last decade, right? 2010 to 220. It came out
Yeah, it
like
was like, I think it was like
17,
2018, 17, something like that.
something like that. Yeah. So I give it easily best movie of the tens. So I got nothing but love for that shit. And what's cool is that the motherfucker, that's an old motherfucker, the director. What's his name? George. Forgot his name now. It's George something. So you think motherfuckers would slow down after they get old? That looks like a movie like a 20-year
Yeah.
old would make.
Well, Quentin Tarantino says directing is a young man's game.
Well, not according to this dude, because he's like in his 70s. He's pushing it.
Clint
But
Eastwood is in his 90s.
I know, and he's still doing it. So I don't know about that, Quentin. Um, so yes, 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 everything. Yes to Mad Max Fury Road. Um, and that's it, y'all. We're done.
Can I give a brief response to Mad Max Fury Road?
Of course, yes.
Yeah, yeah. I enjoyed it more than any of the Mel Gibson movies for sure.
Me too. Yeah.
Um, I'm still like, I'm not crazy about the whole post-apocalypse genre. It doesn't do much for me. But what I liked about this one was the babes. There are some hot girls in this movie. And despite the fact that I wasn't crazy about the movie itself, visually it is very enjoyable.
I have to agree, and it's this. It ends up being kind of like a feminist sort of movie,
I know it's funny that it is very feminist, and yet it mostly features buck naked women parading around in their bikinis.
Well, they were all models. Like he hired a bunch of models to act, so like good for him. You know,
Yeah, yeah.
just happened to find some really hot models. I like the old ladies. There's actually a really nice interview on NPR with one of the actresses who plays one of the older ladies that they find. And she was so happy to be in this movie because she's like, man, after we get to be a certain age, we either play grandmas or sometimes we even play dead people. It's
Yeah.
like we're dead already, you know? So it's like I got the chance to be in love an action packed movie and actually do stuff, shoot at people, run over here. I think it was the lady who was in the driver's seat with the little plant and stuff that kind of got shot in the head towards the end. Uh, but she was so happy. She was like, man, because women just don't get these roles after a certain
That's
age.
true.
Men
Yeah.
can get away with it,
Yeah.
but women are done after 50 for certain roles. So props to Linda Hamilton for the last Terminator movie, which she was really good in. and it's actually not a half decent movie. Props to our girl Jamie Lee Curtis, even though the Halloween that last one was just kind of like it was okay,
Ugh.
but whatever.
Yeah.
But props to Jamie Lee for doing her thing still.
Yeah.
So I champion women who break the mold and who are just trying, they're like, fuck you, I'm just going to do it. And the directors and writers who give them, stuff to do after a certain age. Because they kick butt, man.
Yes, indeed. Yes,
And
indeed.
I mean, we know hell hath no fury like a woman scorned. And
Oh,
so,
I know. I know. I actually brought up that quote in the class the other day, and my student, who's this like gay kid who lives in Rio de Janeiro, he's like, "Oh, I heard that quote in an X-Men movie, but I don't know what it means." And I was like, "Oh, dude, it's an X-Men 3 when Mystique gets scorned by Magneto. Yeah, hell hath no fury."
I know, great Prince song too. But the and then just imagine like how cranky men get when they're old. Imagine how cranky and vicious women get when they're old. So I
Yeah,
think
well, menopause, man.
old
Menopause
women
has got to be
make,
not something pleasant to deal with.
yeah. I'm like, I would be more scared of an old woman action hero than an old man. Like I can deal with Liam Neeson coming at
Yeah.
me, just kind of grumpy, or Denzel Washington kind of being grumpy. But imagine a grumpy old ass menopausal woman
Yeah.
coming for your ass. I'm moving to another country. Like I ain't dealing with that shit. It's done. Movie will be done in 5 minutes. I'll be like, oh, I ain't fucking with this bitch. So yeah, props to that. But anyway, y'all, it's time to
yes.
go.
Yes. Oh my God.
Man,
Like
today was supposed to
tomorrow.
be a short fucking podcast because we were only supposed to we'll talk about 2 movies, but it ended up being real long. But it is what the fuck
Yeah.
it is. We
I
love
know. My
y'all.
tomorrow is eternal.
I know tomorrow's hell day. I got with
Yeah.
the collage, but well, I don't want to say shit on air. That might get me fired. So, all right. I love my job. I'll say that. Okay. Bye,
Yeah.
y'all. Until next time.
Cheers.
Godzilla, maybe.
All right.